to my Jewish friends out there. Hope you have an easy fast, as we say, Yom Kippur, the holiest of holy days for the Jewish faith, Day of Atonement. I think the Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Democrats in the media have a lot to atone for, quite frankly. What you see here, ladies and gentlemen, is a battle between those who support the Constitution and those who don't. Those who support constitutionalism and those who support progressivism. You see the battle with the President of the United States and how they're trying to destroy him and his family. Because progressives are not compassionate. Progressives don't have big hearts. Look around the world. Progressives, democratic socialists, Marxists, Leninists, Maoists. They use people. In the name of people, they destroy people. In the name of the public, they destroy society. They are power hungry. They are control freaks. They are authoritarians. And you're seeing it all over TV and all over Congress. The Svengali in the shadows, who's pulling all the strings, is Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is the de facto lawyer for Dr. Ford. Chuck Schumer, no question, is working with the Democrat left-wing lawyers who just happen to represent Dr. Ford. He's pulling Dianne Feinstein's strings. Chuck Schumer has been doing this since the moment he stepped into the United States Senate. This isn't new for him. Chuck Schumer is a 1960s radical dressed up as a United States Senator. This is all he knows. He's never done anything in the private sector. Since the moment he graduated from law school, he was elected to the New York Assembly. Then one of the youngest members of the House of Representatives when that slot opened up. And then he ran for the U.S. Senate. He's been a member of the New York Assembly, the House of Representatives, and the U.S. Senate. That's it. Man has no real-world experience. All he knows is progressivism. He's an ideologue. That's all he knows. This is the man that filibustered dozens of George W. Bush's nominees to the circuit courts. Then he reverses course, works with Harry Reid to eliminate the filibuster. This is the man who backed Joe Biden's position that the last year in office, he said, no president should be able to nominate anybody to the Supreme Court of the United States. Biden got to the Senate floor, that's what he said. Then all of a sudden we have Merrick Garland, the last 9 months of Obama's administration, and they say, oh, the Republicans are holding him up. And the Republicans fold all the time. When the Republicans take on a nominee, which is very rare, they challenge them on their principles and their interpretation of the Constitution. That's not enough for the Democrats. They are abortion crazy. Abortion crazy. But other things crazy, too. But the Supreme Court, as I've told you over and over again, that's their Politburo. Now, why is it their Politburo? Because that's, in the end, where all the action is. That's where they control the social agenda, because the Supreme Court under the left has nationalized our culture. They've nationalized the social issues, the religious issues. And they've nationalized more and more our economy, our economic issues, and now even our national security and immigration issues. And they know that whether they win elections or lose elections, they must control the Supreme Court. So they demanded that Merrick Garland, a moderate liberal, but a liberal nonetheless, an activist on the D.C. Circuit Court, should replace the great constitutionalist Antonin Scalia. They insist on blocking Brett Kavanaugh, who I've had some questions about, quite frankly. Not that he's a radical kook, but they insist on blocking him because they want to take over the Senate. That's why. We all know what's going on. It's all Schumer all the time, in the shadows. That's exactly what's going on. Woodrow Wilson explained it. He was abundantly clear, as I pointed out in Ameritopia. The federal courts he basically argued, are not bound by the Constitution. He wrote, the weightiest import of the matter is seen only when it is remembered that the courts are the instruments of the nation's growth, and that the way in which they serve that use will have much to do with the integrity of every national process. If they determine what powers are to be exercised under the Constitution, they by the same token determine also the adequacy of the Constitution in respect to the needs and interests of the nation. Our conscience in matters of law and our opportunity in matters of politics are in their hands. In other words, they control all. And they don't have to abide by the Constitution. That if they had interpreted the Constitution in its strict letter, as some proposed, and not in its spirit, and he used to talk about a living and breathing Constitution, it comes from Wilson, like the character of a business corporation, and not like the character of a living government, the vehicle of a nation's life, it would have proved a straitjacket, a means not of liberty and development, but a mere restriction and embarrassment. And he goes on. One of the intellectual so-called greats of the progressive movement over 100 years ago. They tell you what they believe. They tell you who they are. They're fully prepared to destroy Kavanaugh by hook or crook. They are fully prepared to destroy Trump by hook or crook. These are mere mortals who are in the way of the great grand design of the progressive. They can't explain the design with any facts or any substance. But it's a great grand design. It's paradise. We cannot allow a constitutionalist or a would-be constitutionalist to actually get on the court and apply the Constitution. We cannot allow a president of the United States and Trump to keep nominating people like this. We've got to get rid of them. Smear them. Attack them. Destroy them. It doesn't matter. I see the big picture. I know exactly what's going on. Dr. Ford's not a victim. She's a perpetrator. I said she's a perpetrator. You don't wait now to reveal this. You don't hire left-wing Democrat activist lawyers to represent you. You don't make demands of the committee now that you want an FBI investigation. You know, Kavanaugh's name was added to the 21, part of the 25 list that Trump has had for more than a year. Nothing. Nothing. We are being manipulated, America. We are being manipulated by Chuck Schumer. We're being manipulated by the Democrat Party and the Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee. And we are being manipulated by Dr. Ford and her lawyers. This isn't about women's rights. This is about justice. You can't accuse another individual 36 years later of a crime, a state crime, of physical sexual assault. 36 years later, you don't know exactly when it occurred. You don't know exactly why it occurred. You don't know exactly where it occurred. First it's 2 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys. You don't know who the witnesses are. You don't know how you got home. You don't know whose party it was. You don't know what house it was at. Hell, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't about women. It's not about sex. This is about justice. Read your Constitution. Read the Bill of Rights. There's a reason why we have a whole due process section there. You have due process whether it's criminal cases or civil cases. They have to be tested in a court. You make an allegation, then you have to lay it out in a brief. And the person has a right to defend themselves. You're a witness. You're cross-examined. Before that, you're deposed. There's all kinds of data collection, interrogatories, and depositions and so forth. Has to be heard, in most cases, by a jury or at least an impartial judge. Then you have a right to appeal. What the hell is this? A man is literally accused of a crime, and he has no ability whatsoever to defend himself. Where the hell is the ACLU and so forth? Now, I know this isn't a court of law. It's worse. These senators have no self-respect, and they have no regard for the institution in which they were elected. They just as soon burn down the place. Just as soon burn down the place. All started 30 years ago. 31 years ago. With Ted Kennedy. A sleazeball. A man who left a woman to die. A man who was sexually harassing women every damn day of his life. And he wasn't the only one. Buddies with Chuck Schumer. Buddies with Joe Biden. Buddies with Dick Durbin. Buddies with all of them. All of them. Chappaquiddick. Is there another senator on the face of the earth that could have survived Chappaquiddick? And not just him. Let's lay it bare. His brother John. His brother Robert. His father Joe was hitting on his own son's girlfriends. And by the way, still more with the Kennedys. Ask Andrew Cuomo. And ask others. The Democrats don't stand for women's rights. They're not feminists. They don't speak for women. They're leftists. They use women the way they use minorities. And the way they use everything else. Power, baby. Control. Authority. That's what it's all about. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.